Hey everyone, ever feel like you're just drowning in a sea of information and distractions?
Yeah.
Like it's impossible to find a moment of peace or clarity.
Yeah.
Today, we're taking a deep dive into a lecture,
Okay.
and it's titled Rising Above the Noise: Cultivating Clarity and Focus in a Distracted World.
Mhm.
And it's all about understanding the noise that clutters our minds, and more importantly,
Right.
discovering practical strategies to reclaim our focus and attention.
What's fascinating is that this lecture goes beyond just the external distractions,
Right.
like the constant pings of notifications.
Yeah.
It dives deep into the internal noise we all experience,
Right.
those racing thoughts and anxieties, and even our own cognitive biases that can cloud our judgment.
Yeah, I've definitely experienced that mental whirlwind. It's like my own brain is working against me sometimes.
Yeah.
But I'm curious, the lecture calls this noise,
Uh-huh.
but what exactly does that mean in this context?
Think of it like this.
Okay.
Anything that prevents you from thinking clearly,
Right.
from making sound decisions,
Yeah.
from achieving your goals,
Uh-huh.
can be considered noise.
Okay.
And this noise comes in two main flavors.
External and internal. Okay, so external noise, that's probably the easier one to grasp. It's all the stuff coming at us from the outside world.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Imagine you're trying to focus on a task,
Okay.
but your phone's buzzing, emails are flooding in,
Right.
and the news is blaring in the background.
Mhm.
That's external noise in action.
Okay.
It's the information overload,
Right.
the pressure to be constantly connected,
Yeah.
and even the societal expectations we absorb,
Yeah.
all vying for our attention.
It's like being at a crowded party where everyone's talking at once and you can't even hear yourself think.
Huh.
But what about internal noise?
Right.
Is that just the mental chatter we all experience?
It's more than just chatter.
Okay.
Internal noise encompasses our
Right.
anxieties,
Right.
those nagging worries about the future, and the regrets about the past that keep replaying in our minds.
Right.
It's also the emotional turmoil that can cloud our judgment.
Okay.
Remember those mental shortcuts our brains take,
Yeah.
those assumptions and biases that can lead us down the wrong path.
Yeah.
That's internal noise, too.
So it's like we have these two sources of noise.
Exactly.
The external world bombarding us with information and demands in
Yeah.
our own minds,
Yeah.
creating a whirlwind of thoughts and emotions.
Yeah.
No wonder it feels so hard to focus sometimes.
And the consequences of living in this noisy world are more profound than we might realize.
Okay.
One of the most obvious impacts, as highlighted in the lecture,
Yeah.
is decreased productivity.
Okay.
Think about how often you try to multitask,
Oh, yeah.
juggling emails, messages, and work all at once.
Oh, I'm definitely guilty of that. But honestly, I always thought I was being super efficient by doing a million things at once.
That's a common misconception. Research actually shows that when we constantly switch between tasks,
Okay.
we become less efficient.
Huh.
It takes our brains time to refocus.
Oh,
Each time we shift our attention,
right.
leading to errors, and ultimately less gets accomplished.
So all that multitasking is actually counterproductive.
It can be, yeah.
You know, I have noticed I make more mistakes when I'm trying to do a million things at once.
Right.
And I'm definitely more stressed.
Uh-huh.
Is that connected to the noise too?
Absolutely.
Oh, okay.
This constant bombardment of information and demands
Right.
can lead to increased stress and anxiety.
Yeah.
It's like our brains are constantly on high alert,
Right.
trying to process everything coming at us.
Yeah. I can definitely relate to that feeling of being overwhelmed. It's like you can never truly relax or switch off.
Right.
But the lecture goes even deeper, right?
Mhm.
It's not just about productivity and stress.
Exactly.
There's something about noise actually impacting our ability to think.
That's right. The lecture argues that this constant noise actually leads to a loss of focus and clarity. It's like our minds are so overloaded
Right.
that we can't think deeply or make those thoughtful, well-considered decisions.
Yeah.
And what's particularly alarming
Yeah.
is the impact this has on our creativity.
That's interesting. I never really thought about it that way. Why
Yeah.
would noise affect our creativity?
Think back to a time when you had a breakthrough idea,
Okay.
a moment of inspiration.
Uh-huh.
Did it happen when your mind was racing with 1,000 thoughts,
Right.
or when you were in a state of calm and focus?
Now that you mention it, my best ideas seem to come when I'm relaxed.
Right.
Maybe taking a walk or just letting my mind wander.
Uh-huh.
But these days, those quiet moments are few and far between. Is that what the lecture's getting at?
Exactly.
Oh.
The lecture suggests that the constant influx of information shortens our attention spans,
Right.
making the deep focus needed for creative breakthroughs more difficult to achieve.
Right.
We're so accustomed to instant gratification
Yeah.
and rapid-fire information
Right.
that we lose the ability to sit with our thoughts, to explore ideas, to let our imaginations run wild.
That's a bit unsettling, isn't it? We're losing our ability to be creative because we're drowning in noise.
It is a little bit, yeah.
This reminds me of something else I struggle with.
Okay.
Being present with my friends and family.
That brings us to another point the lecture raises.
Okay.
The impact of noise on relationships.
Right.
When our minds are constantly preoccupied with work, worries, or the digital world, we're not fully present with the people we care about.
That hits close to home.
Yeah.
I'm definitely guilty of checking my phone during dinner or letting my mind wander during conversations. I know it makes my loved ones feel like I'm not really listening.
Right.
And it creates a distance in those relationships.
It's a subtle but profound consequence of living in a noisy world. We're so distracted by everything vying for our attention that we miss out on those genuine moments of connection,
Right.
those deep conversations and shared experiences that form the foundation of strong relationships.
So we've established that noise is this pervasive force affecting our productivity, our mental well-being,
Right.
our creativity, and even our relationships.
Exactly.
But the lecture doesn't just leave us with this bleak picture, right? There's got to be a way to fight back against this onslaught of noise.
That's where things get really interesting.
Okay.
The lecture offers a toolbox of practical strategies for reclaiming our attention and finding clarity amidst the chaos.
Right.
And what's particularly encouraging is that these aren't complicated, esoteric techniques.
Okay.
There's simple, actionable steps
Yeah.
that anyone can incorporate into their lives.
Okay, I'm ready to dive into these strategies. What are some of the things the lecture suggests for rising above the noise?
The lecture starts with a strategy that's been gaining a lot of traction lately. Mindfulness and meditation.
Mindfulness, meditation. I've heard those words thrown around a lot, but to be honest, they always sounded a bit too new age for me.
Right.
What do they actually mean in the context of dealing with noise?
At their core,
Yeah.
these practices are all about training your attention
Okay.
and becoming more aware of the present moment.
Right.
Mindfulness is about noticing your thoughts and feelings without judgment,
Okay.
like observing them from a distance instead of getting swept away by the current.
So instead of getting caught up in that mental whirlwind,
Right.
I'm learning to just observe it. I can see how that could help create some space between me and all that noise.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And meditation takes it a step further
Okay.
by providing a structured way to cultivate that mindful awareness.
Okay.
There are so many different approaches.
Right.
So it's about finding what resonates with you.
Uh-huh.
Some people find guided meditations helpful,
Right.
where you listen to a voice guiding you through the process.
Okay.
Others prefer mindfulness-based stress reduction,
Okay.
which combines mindfulness with gentle yoga and stretching.
I actually tried a guided meditation app once, and it was surprisingly helpful,
Yeah,
but I struggled to make it a regular practice.
right.
What are some tips for actually sticking with meditation?
Consistency is key.
Oh.
Even if it's just for a few minutes each day,
Yeah.
the lecture emphasizes that it's like any other skill. The more you practice, the better you become at calming your mind.
Right.
It also suggests finding a quiet space where you won't be interrupted
Okay.
and experimenting with different times of day
Right.
to see what works best for you.
Okay. That makes sense.
Yeah,
It's about building that mental muscle, just like going to the gym.
exactly.
But what if I'm not into the whole meditation thing?
Right.
Are there simpler ways to quiet the noise?
Absolutely.
Okay.
One of the simplest and most effective techniques
Yeah.
is focusing on your breath
Okay.
when you feel overwhelmed.
Right.
Just take a few deep, conscious breaths, noticing the sensation of the air moving in and out of your body.
Yeah.
It's a quick and easy way to anchor yourself in the present moment
Right.
and interrupt that cycle of racing thoughts.
I do find that taking a deep breath helps when I'm feeling stressed.
Yeah.
It's like hitting the reset button.
Right.
Speaking of feeling overwhelmed, I think a big source of noise for me is my phone.
Oh, yeah.
I'm constantly checking emails, scrolling through social media,
Right.
feeling tethered to that little device.
Yeah.
Does the lecture address this digital distraction?
It certainly does.
Okay.
The lecture suggests something that might sound radical, a digital detox.
A digital detox.
Yeah.
You mean actually disconnecting from all my devices? I'm not sure I'm ready for that level of commitment.
It doesn't have to be extreme.
Okay.
It's about finding what works for you.
Right.
It could be as simple as designating certain times of day as phone-free zones, like during meals or an hour before bed.
Right.
Or maybe you challenge yourself to spend a weekend unplugged, immersing yourself in nature.
Yeah.
Or engaging in activities that don't involve screens.
I could definitely see the benefit of having some screen-free time.
Yeah.
Even just putting my phone away during dinner would probably make me a more attentive dinner companion.
And that's just the beginning.
Okay.
The lecture goes deeper into managing our digital lives by suggesting we reclaim control of our notifications.
Okay.
Those constant pings and buzzes are designed to grab our attention and keep us hooked.
Yeah.
But we can choose to resist that pull.
You're telling me.
Right.
It's like every app is vying for my attention, and it's exhausting.
Can be, yeah.
What's the lecture's take on managing those digital distractions?
Instead of treating notifications as urgent demands, start viewing them as mere interruptions. Disable non-essential notifications.
Right.
Especially those from social media apps. Do you really need to know every time someone likes your photo or comments on a post?
Probably not, but it's so tempting to check.
Right.
It's like a little reward every time I see that notification pop up.
That's the addictive nature of those platforms.
Right.
But try reframing it. Instead of letting those apps dictate your attention, choose specific times to check your notifications rather than responding to every ping.
Right.
And here's a challenge. Try turning off those visual cues. Those little red badges that constantly remind you of unread messages.
You know, now that you mention it, those little red badges do seem to trigger a sense of urgency. Like I need to address them immediately.
Right.
But what if my job requires me to be online and available? I can't exactly go off the grid during the workday.
That's where the concept of deep work comes in.
Deep work.
Yeah.
It sounds intense, but also intriguing.
It is.
Like, I'm diving into a project without any distractions pulling me away. How do you actually make that happen in a world that's constantly demanding our attention?
It requires a shift in mindset and some practical strategies. The lecture suggests something called time blocking, where you schedule specific blocks of time for deep work sessions and treat those blocks as sacred.
Right.
No meetings, no emails, no distractions allowed.
I like the idea of having those protected time slots in my calendar. It's like giving myself permission to focus. But honestly, I don't always trust myself to stay on track.
Right.
Are there techniques for maintaining focus during those deep work sessions?
Yes. My mind tends to wander after a while. The lecture mentions a few techniques that can be helpful. The Pomodoro technique is a popular one. It involves working in 25-minute intervals, followed by short 5-minute breaks. This structured approach can help you stay more focused and prevent burnout.
I've heard of that. It's like interval training for your brain. Short bursts of intense focus followed by a little recovery time. But what about the myth of multitasking?
Right.
I always thought being able to juggle multiple tasks at once was a sign of efficiency.
That's a common belief.
Yeah.
But the lecture debunks it quite effectively.
Really?
It cites research showing that multitasking actually reduces productivity. When we try to do too many things at once.
Right.
Our brains have to constantly switch back and forth between tasks. And that switching takes time and energy. It's like trying to run 2 programs on your computer at the same time.
Oh, right.
Everything slows down.
So all those times I thought I was being a multitasking superhero,
Right.
I was actually hindering my own progress. I guess focusing on one task at a time is the real superpower.
It is, yeah.
You know, this whole conversation is making me realize that I need more clarity in my work and in my life in general.
That brings us to another crucial strategy, highlighted in the lecture: clarity of purpose and values.
Clarity of purpose and values. When you have a clear understanding of your why, of what truly matters to you, it becomes easier to filter out the noise and distractions that don't align with your goals.
Exactly.
So it's like having a compass that guides you in the right direction. But honestly, sometimes setting goals feels overwhelming. Like there's so much I want to achieve and not enough time. Does the lecture offer guidance on setting effective goals?
It emphasizes the importance of setting SMART goals.
SMART goals. One of those.
Goals that are specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound.
Oh, okay.
Instead of setting vague goals like be more productive,
Right.
break them down into smaller, actionable steps.
Right.
For example, I will dedicate 1 hour each morning to focused work on my most important project.
That's a great example.
Right.
Breaking down those big, daunting goals into smaller, manageable chunks makes them seem much less intimidating.
Exactly.
But how do my values come into play?
The lecture argues that aligning your actions with your values is key to staying motivated and resilient in the face of challenges and distractions.
Okay.
Take some time to reflect on what truly matters to you.
Right.
What are your core values? What do you want your life to stand for? Once you have clarity on those guiding principles, it becomes easier to make choices that are in harmony with your authentic self.
That's a powerful insight. It's not just about achieving things for the sake of achievement.
Exactly.
It's about ensuring those achievements are meaningful.
Right.
And aligned with who I am at my core. It's like having an internal filter. That helps me determine what's truly worth my time and energy.
And of course, the lecture doesn't neglect the importance of taking care of our physical and mental well-being. These are foundational elements for clarity and focus.
Okay, this is where I know I need to step up my game. I'm aware of the benefits of exercise and sleep, but I'm not always great at prioritizing them. What are some practical tips for incorporating these healthy habits into a busy life?
The lecture encourages a holistic approach, emphasizing that even small changes can make a big difference when it comes to exercise. It's not about becoming a marathon runner overnight. It's about finding enjoyable ways to move your body regularly. Whether that's taking a brisk walk during your lunch break, incorporating a quick yoga routine into your morning, or simply opting for the stairs instead of the elevator.
Those are all things I can realistically do.
Exactly.
It's about making those small, sustainable changes that fit into my existing routine. And what about sleep? I know it's important. But I often sacrifice sleep to get more work done or catch up on my favorite shows.
The lecture makes a compelling case for prioritizing sleep. Emphasizing that it's essential for cognitive function, emotional regulation, and overall well-being. It suggests aiming for 7 to 8 hours of quality sleep each night. And creating a relaxing bedtime routine to help you wind down.
So no more late-night Netflix binges. Off to find other ways to unwind before bed. Maybe I'll try reading or listening to calming music. Does the lecture address nutrition as well? I've heard that what we eat can impact our brain function.
It absolutely does. The lecture emphasizes the importance of nourishing our brains with a balanced diet. That includes plenty of fruits, vegetables, and whole grains. These provide the essential nutrients our brains need for optimal performance. It also suggests limiting processed foods, sugary drinks, and excessive caffeine. As these can lead to energy crashes and impair focus.
So it's about fueling our bodies and minds with the right kind of fuel. You know, this deep dive is really making me reconsider my approach to health and well-being. I'm starting to see how taking care of my physical and mental health is directly linked to my ability to manage noise and achieve clarity. But beyond individual habits, does the lecture address our surroundings and how they contribute to this sense of noise?
It most certainly does. The lecture dedicates a significant portion to the importance of cultivating a peaceful environment, both physically and digitally. It suggests that our surroundings can either amplify or diminish the noise we experience.
That makes perfect sense. If I'm working in a cluttered, chaotic space, it's no wonder I feel more distracted and stressed. What are some of the lecture's suggestions for creating a more peaceful environment?
One of the simplest yet most effective strategies is decluttering. And it doesn't have to be a massive overhaul. Start with small areas, like your desk or a corner of your room. Clear away any unnecessary items. Organize what remains, and notice how it impacts your sense of calm and clarity.
I can definitely get on board with that. I've always felt better after tidying up my workspace. It's like decluttering my physical space creates more mental space as well.
Exactly.
But what about those external noises that are beyond our control? Like traffic or noisy neighbors?
The lecture acknowledges that we can't always control our external environment. But we can create pockets of peace within it. It suggests designating specific areas for quiet activities. like a reading nook or a meditation corner.
Right.
And if you're in a particularly noisy environment, noise-canceling headphones or white noise machines can be helpful tools for creating a sense of tranquility.
Those are great suggestions.
Yeah.
It's like creating a sanctuary where I can escape the noise and recharge.
Exactly.
But what about the people in our lives?
Right. Don't they contribute to the noise we experience?
Absolutely.
Okay.
The people we surround ourselves with have a profound impact on our energy and well-being. The lecture emphasizes the importance of surrounding ourselves with positive influences.
Okay.
People who uplift us, inspire us, and support our growth.
It's like curating our own social circle.
It is.
Choosing to spend time with people who bring joy and encouragement rather than negativity and trauma.
Right.
But let's be real.
Yeah.
We can't always choose who we interact with.
Right.
Especially in work or family settings. What are some strategies for dealing with those unavoidable interactions that might be adding to our sense of noise?
The lecture provides some valuable insights for navigating challenging relationships.
Right.
It emphasizes the importance of setting healthy boundaries, communicating our needs assertively, and practicing empathy and compassion.
Okay.
Even when dealing with difficult individuals. Those are powerful tools.
They are, yeah.
It's about recognizing that we have a choice in how we respond to challenging situations, and that we can protect our own well-being without necessarily cutting people out of our lives.
Exactly.
And remember, sometimes the noise isn't coming from external sources, but from our own internal critic. That voice of self-doubt and negativity. That can be incredibly loud and persistent.
It can, yeah.
Oh, I know that voice all too well. It can be so hard to silence that inner critic.
Right.
Does the lecture offer any advice for dealing with that particular brand of noise?
It encourages us to cultivate self-compassion and challenge those negative thought patterns.
Oh, right.
It suggests practices like journaling, positive affirmations, and reframing negative thoughts to help us shift our inner dialogue to a more supportive and encouraging tone.
It's like becoming our own best friend.
It is, yeah.
And speaking of friends, I'm curious about something. We've talked a lot about minimizing noise.
Right.
But is it possible to have too much quiet? Is there such a thing as a noise deficit?
That's a fascinating question.
Yeah.
And one that the lecture leaves open for further exploration.
Okay.
It suggests that while excessive noise can be detrimental, a certain amount of stimulation and interaction is essential for our well-being.
So it's about finding that balance.
Exactly.
That sweet spot where we're engaged with the world, but not overwhelmed by it.
Right.
And maybe, just maybe, there are certain types of noise that can actually be beneficial.
Now, that's where things get really interesting. The lecture hints at this possibility.
Okay.
But doesn't delve into it too deeply.
Right.
Let's explore that idea further as we move into the final part of our deep dive.
I'm really intrigued by this idea that certain types of noise could actually be beneficial.
Yeah.
It seems counterintuitive to everything we've discussed so far.
Right.
Didn't the lecture primarily focus on the negative impacts of noise?
It did.
Okay.
But it also hinted at the possibility that noise isn't always the enemy.
Okay.
It posed the question, if noise is an inherent part of the human experience, can we redefine our relationship with it?
Yeah.
Can we learn to discern between the noise that drains us and the noise that might actually enhance our lives?
Okay, I'm all ears. How could noise possibly be a good thing?
Well, think about the creative process.
Okay.
Sometimes a breakthrough comes from unexpected sources, from a clash of ideas, from a disruption of our usual patterns of thinking.
So you're saying that a little bit of chaos can actually spark creativity?
Precisely.
Okay.
Imagine a musician jamming with a band.
Okay.
There's a lot of sound.
Right.
A blend of different instruments, rhythms, and melodies. It might sound chaotic at first, but out of that noise, something beautiful and unexpected can emerge.
I see what you mean. Yeah. It's like the noise, the unexpected combinations of sounds, pushes the musicians to think differently, to improvise, to create something new.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Or think about brainstorming sessions.
Okay.
A room full of people throwing out ideas.
Yeah.
Some good, some bad.
Right.
Some seemingly outrageous.
Right.
It can feel chaotic and noisy.
Yeah.
But that's often where the most innovative ideas are born. The unexpected juxtapositions,
Right.
the challenges to our assumptions can lead to breakthroughs that wouldn't happen in a perfectly quiet, controlled environment.
So maybe it's not about eliminating all noise,
Right.
but about becoming more discerning.
Exactly.
Learning to recognize which types of noise fuel our creativity and which types drain our energy.
That's the key.
Okay.
And it's not just about creativity.
Right.
The lecture touched on how a certain level of noise, in the form of social interaction, diverse perspectives, even a bit of healthy debate, can actually enhance our problem-solving abilities.
That makes sense. Yeah. When we're only exposed to ideas and perspectives that align with our own, our thinking can become stagnant.
Exactly.
We need that friction, that challenge to push us out of our comfort zones and help us see things from different angles.
Exactly.
Okay.
It's like adding different spices to a dish.
Yeah.
A little bit of heat, a touch of bitterness can actually enhance the overall flavor.
Right.
The same can be true of noise.
Yeah.
The key is to find the right balance, the right blend of stimuli that nourishes our minds without overwhelming them.
This has been such an eye-opening deep dive. I feel like I've gone from fearing noise to appreciating its potential.
That's great.
It's not just something to be avoided. It's something to be understood, managed, and even harnessed.
Exactly.
So what are some things our listeners can do to start exploring their own relationship with noise? Any final thoughts or challenges to leave them with?
I'd encourage everyone to conduct a noise audit of their own lives.
Okay.
Pay attention to the sources of noise around you and within you.
Right.
Which ones are draining your energy, making it difficult to focus, or hindering your creativity?
Yeah.
And are there any sources of noise that you find energizing, stimulating, or even inspiring?
That's a great suggestion.
Yeah.
It's like taking inventory of our mental and emotional environments.
Once you've identified the different types of noise in your life, experiment with some of the strategies we've discussed.
Okay.
Try a digital detox, explore different meditation techniques, create a quiet space in your home, or simply spend some time in nature, away from all the distractions.
Yeah.
And remember, it's a process of discovery.
Right.
There's no right or wrong way to do this.
It's about finding what works best for each individual.
Exactly.
Creating a more mindful, intentional relationship with the noise in our lives.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And above all, be patient with yourself.
Okay.
Finding that balance with noise is a journey, not a destination. It's about making small, consistent changes over time and celebrating the progress you make along the way.
That's such an important reminder.
Yeah.
It's not about achieving some perfect state of noise-free bliss.
Right.
It's about making conscious choices that create a more peaceful, focused, and fulfilling life.
So, as you go about your day,
Yeah.
be mindful of the noise around you.
Okay.
Don't let it control you.
Right.
Choose the noise that nourishes you, that inspires you, that helps you grow and rise above the rest.
That's a perfect note to end on.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive, everyone.
Of course.
Until next time, stay curious, stay mindful, and keep diving deeper.